And joining us now is Poland's Minister of Finance, Mr. Andrzej Domański. Good morning and welcome to TVP World.
Good morning, great to be here.
So now, as we are on the day after the elections to the European Parliament have taken place, what do you think are the key economic challenges for the EU in this new term of the European Parliament?
Actually, I don't believe that the elections really change the challenges that we face as the European Union and, of course, as Poland in terms of, let's say, economic situation. We see growing pressure from in the global context, and we as European Union we have to find solutions. We definitely need to improve the competitiveness of our business. We need to, I would say, get rid of, I call it, naivety of thinking about geopolitics and the global strategy.
Now, what about when it comes to the outcome of this election versus the EU's priorities? So you've mentioned some of these challenges too, but so how will it now influence policies such as the next EU budget, the Green Deal, but also defense spending? And what are Poland's priorities in all this?
Our priorities are clear. First of all, bringing back competitiveness of European Union. We see it's under pressure. We see that, for example, that more and more European companies prefer to be listed in New York, not in Paris or Frankfurt or Warsaw. And I see it as a challenge, and we see that productivity of our economy is not improving, and therefore we need to find a new tools. For us, for Poland, of course, the other priority would be the defense. We spend currently, as a country, more than 4% of our GDP on defense, whereas many European partners spend way less. And therefore, what we need is European solidarity in terms of defense spending. And I do hope that the next Commission will find good tools, suitable tools that will serve our main goal, which is improving the security of European Union.
So since we're already talking now about this defense spending, is Poland going to maintain the current level of defense spending, or was last year's splurge just a one-off?
No, it wasn't one-off. We see that the threat from Russia is actually growing, and so we just can't afford to spend less. The security is and always will be our priority, and this is why a couple of weeks ago Prime Minister Tusk said very openly that we will invest additional money to secure our eastern border. We see, for example, that the pressure from Belarus is also growing. Therefore, there is no other choice for us but to maintain this very high level of spending on defense. Having said that, I do encourage our European partners to do the same. I mean, it's not fair that we spend above 4% of our GDP, and at the same time, many countries don't even touch the 2% threshold imposed on NATO members. So once again, more European solidarity is needed, but no matter what, we will invest heavily in defense.
Now, Politico, a couple of weeks ago, they ran a story saying that Europe won't have enough money to cover both defense and green policies. Do you agree with that?
I see it as a challenge, no doubt, and this is why we need to accelerate the European economy. When you have the higher GDP growth, you are able to finance more and more of your priorities. And this is also why I'm here today in Sopot to discuss the private sector investments. We need to encourage private capital to invest more in green energy transition and rebuild our defense capabilities in Europe by by investing in defense sector. So I do think that we need way more of private investments there. Of course, we are in discussion with AIB to ask them, to encourage them to invest more, also in the so-called dual use investments. And we see that the talks are going very well. I've recently spoke to Ms. Calvino, the president of AIB, about that, and I see lots of room for further cooperation.
Now, what about, I'd like to ask about Poland's budget deficit, which is well above the EU's limit of 3% of GDP, and the spending on defense is rising. Like you said, of course, Poland plans to continue to have the spending at that level. How are you planning to ensure that Poland doesn't go into a debt spiral?
First of all, if we would adjust our deficit just by the defense spending, our deficit would be way below 3%. And I do hope that Commission will recognize this fact, that this is not the time to cut the spending on defense. We will see. The decision of the Commission is coming closer and closer, and we will be in further contact with them.
Now, I'd like to ask about the governor of the central bank, Mr. Adam Glapiński. The Polish parliament is considering putting him before the state tribunal over accusations that he overstepped his mandate and became politically involved on behalf of the previous government. And because of this, many investors are concerned that regardless of whether these charges are substantiated or not, this could jeopardize the bank's independence. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, as a Minister of Finance, I do not comment on any accusations against Central Bank, Mr. Glapiński. I also do not comment what the Monetary Policy Council is currently doing. I believe that, as you rightly said, to keep markets secure and to secure the good funding for our needs, it's better when the Minister of Finance is not really involved in this discussion.
Right. Okay. So, what about a topic that many will definitely find interesting of our viewers? When it comes to minimum wages, the IMF has said that the minimum wage in Poland has risen too fast. What's your position on that?
I wouldn't say if it's too fast or not too fast, but definitely the minimum wage went up substantially in previous years. And of course, we are happy that people are earning more. At the same time, we have to think about the competitiveness of our economy, of our enterprises. And we see that some of them are struggling with this rising labor cost. And therefore, Prime Minister Tusk said that we will, of course, rise the minimum wage, but by the level that it's needed because of the special bill that we have about the minimum wage. So the minimum wage will go up, but the rise of it will not be as high as in the previous years.
What about the competitiveness that you've also mentioned? What is, let's say, the edge that Poland has over other EU member states? But then if we were to look at it broader, just like you said, how do we bring back those that now want to be on the New York Stock Exchange? How do we get them back and make that competitiveness bigger and get them back to Europe?
First of all, I still believe there is a lot of low-hanging fruit in Polish economy. We have to invest a lot in green energy transition, as currently we produce 68% of our energy out of coal. This is unsustainable, very expensive, and of course very bad for climate. And therefore, there is lots of business opportunity in this sector, and those investments are needed by our economy. If we invest in green energy transition, in renewables, and in nuclear energy, then we'll have low cost and sustainable energy in the midterm. And this is what's needed by Polish economy, by Polish enterprises.
Now, what is your forecast for Poland's economic growth for this year, and what will be the key drivers of that?
We forecast that Polish economy this year will grow by 3.1% and then will accelerate in 2025 to 3.7. That's our current forecast. So we'll be back, our economy will be back to where it's placed, to be among the fastest growing economies in the European Union. It's also worth to notice that during previous 35 years since our economic transition began, our GDP in real terms grew threefold. So probably one of the fastest pace of growth in the world, for sure in European Union. And so this year we see 3.1 GDP growth and then further accelerate, still mainly because of the consumer spending after very substantial rise of salaries for teachers, for civil servants, and substantial rise of wages in the whole economy. We see that the consumer is pretty strong. But I'm really happy to see that other engines of economy are also improving. Recent data from the industrial production was quite encouraging. And of course, we are hoping that a bit sluggish recovery in Eurozone will accelerate, so our exporters will also have a bit better results, and the export will also add up to the Polish GDP. So I'm pretty optimistic. I still believe there's lots of room for Polish economy, which is currently the sixth biggest in the EU, but I think there is room for further growth.
Right. I mean, there's always, like we say, there's always room for perfection, but that's very good news for Poland that you've just said. Now, I know you've spoken about this broadly when it comes to the EU after the elections, but what is the greatest challenge for the Polish economy, and how should it be addressed?
I believe that each challenge is also an opportunity. So once again, I'd like to stress that without green energy transition, it will be a huge burden for our entrepreneurs, for our industry. So it's an opportunity, but if we don't use it, then it will be the biggest challenge. Of course, there are more challenges. The brutal aggression on Ukraine is a challenge. The sluggish recovery in Eurozone is a challenge. The long-term challenge is, of course, the demographic situation, which is deteriorating. So there are plenty of challenges, and it's our job, the job of the government, to fix it.
Of course. And I still wanted to ask, just going back to the competitiveness that you mentioned, what initiatives are being taken to attract foreign investment and promote innovation within Poland?
Of course, so we are very open for foreign investors. Definitely we need more FDIs, foreign direct investments in Polish economy. We see that we are a country that benefits from the friend-shoring, near-shoring processes, but I believe it's really important that the new Polish government is very pro-European, that has very pro-European agenda. So the investors that are investing here, they could feel really safe that they are investing in European Union country, which will only improve relations with other important trading partners within Europe. And of course, we do have ambition to shape better EU policies in general. So I'm sure that Poland is right now the best place to invest in Europe.
Okay, that's a good note to end it. So we'll end it right there. Minister, thank you very much for speaking to us here today on TVP World.
Thank you very much.
And our guest today was Mr. Andrzej Domański, the Finance Minister of Poland.